Would you say this is probably, if it pans out, the best draft class for the New York Jets? Is that possible?
Yeah, once again, it's on paper, but I have been on record on the radio saying, cautiously optimistic on paper. I think this could be the best draft class. It really is possible. I mean, I compared it. It's funny you bring that up. I compared it to the 2000 draft, and I feel this has the makings of better because even though we got Pennington as a quarterback, Abraham and Ellis were, really, really good, offensive linemen. I think Abraham might end up in the Hall of Fame someday because he's like in the top 10 or 12 in all-time sacks. But Anthony Beck was stuck in there, and he was, average tight end. But you look, I mean, once again, on paper, we got best wide receiver in the draft, best running back in the draft, best corner in the draft, and arguably the best tight end in the draft.
Yeah. Yep.
So, if you hit on 3 of the 4, it's a home run.
Yeah. I think we have to give it to Joe Douglas because I know that we were harsh on him, and a lot of Jet fans were harsh on him because he doesn't really spend a lot in free agency. He made some great moves this year, but he always hits the home runs in the draft, and I was surprised about how well it went. But I think we could say this because this is something that we were texting back and forth about, is the glaring need for a center or another offensive lineman. But apparently they have all faith and confidence in Mekhi Becton coming back here.
I think they do, but I don't think I heard Douglas on an interview this afternoon. If you read between the lines, if the opportunity arises, it sounds like he's not done tinkering with this roster. Mm-hmm. And, he was asked about Becton, but he wouldn't, of course, say, well, I'm looking for a tackle after in the June cuts. But he did say that we will be looking at all positions to improve this team or to get depth or however we worded it. So to me, and I think anybody that follows it would know, you have to sign a veteran offensive tackle.
I agree.
Whether Becton is not right or whether he comes back and he's the best tackle in the league, you don't have a third tackle. You can't count on Connor McDermott.
No.
So a guy like a Morgan Moses type of player, I think Brandon Shell's out there. I would sign him. I mean, he started 2 years for Seattle. I know we let him go as a free agent. But last year, I looked it up. He played 11 games before he got hurt. He only had one penalty. He's a right tackle. He can play left, in an emergency. But at least he has veteran experience. He's 30 years old. And I think he'd be a great insurance policy whether Becton is right or he's not right.
Yeah. I think he would too, but isn't it always hilarious that the Jets can always hit on their running backs? And I was actually surprised by that move in the second round of them trading up because I wasn't expecting that because you figure as though with Michael Carter and then Tevin Coleman and they like Ty Johnson, you figure though they were fine and satisfied with the running back room.
I thought they would address running back like, fourth, fifth round. Mm-hmm. There were a couple interesting prospects I was looking at. So I figured they would bring one in, only because I just felt they needed somebody who was a little bigger, a little more of a bruiser. Mm-hmm. And I was a bit surprised they took one in the second round. When you're looking at best available players, like I was watching Kuiper on ESPN, and you see Breece Hall, and I'm saying, well, yes, no, I'm not sure he's going to use a second-round pick on that. But you know what? They went straight with their board. They took the running back, and the same thing could be said about Rucker, the tight end from Ohio State. I mean, it wasn't like we had a big hole anymore at tight end, but he goes out and he gets one, and I think it speaks a lot about Joe Douglas.
It does. We have a lot of depth now, and could you believe the reaction from the whole Jeremy Ruckert family? Because he grew up a Jets fan. He's from Long Island. He was drafted there, and the family exploded when he was drafted to the Jets.
Yeah, it was hysterical. It really, really was. I got a big kick out of it. The also thing I finally figured out, which I should have known, beforehand. When you watch the video and he goes to put the jet hat on, whoever took the picture, there was a table in front of him, and I'm sure the NFL sent it to him, and it was a box, and it looks like every team hat from every team was in this box.
I saw that.
Have the picture, so you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So finally, I always thought, well, okay, maybe half a dozen hats get distributed to these guys. They kind of know where they're going. I never knew all 32 hats were at these kids'
No,
houses.
I never knew that as well. That always wondered it myself, and I kind of thought that before seeing all the hats out there that Ruckert had. I thought that they were just they knew where they were going. That's how what I thought sometimes, but no, apparently they have all the hats laying around right there.
Yep, I was actually very surprised to see that. But it's good. No, you have to be thrilled. So between free agency and the draft, and now you got to turn the page, and all the pieces are put around Zach Wilson. And if he's anything near what you and I thought he was coming into the draft last year when we drafted him, then I think all the pieces are in place for him to be successful.
Yeah, they are, and I'm looking forward to it. I know because we wanted Garrett Wilson when they said that they should draft a receiver in this draft. He was number one on my board for my mock draft who the Jets should get, and they grabbed him and they got Gardner. And in Gardner, because I always go back and I agree with you on the offensive line, but we needed a shutdown corner with DJ Reed and Bryce Hall. Just look at the receivers that are in this division alone, with Tyreek Hill now joining the Dolphins and Jalen Waddle and Stephon Diggs. It was a glaring need for the Jets to get a shutdown corner with Bryce Hall and DJ Reed.
No, I get it. And, it's really interesting because as the draft was playing out, I had heard rumors that Lovie Smith wanted to draft Stingley. And I said, wow, they draft Stingley, the Jets are taking Gardner.
Mm-hmm.
Because I just didn't think they would pass on him. And, of course, when the Texans take Stingley, I said, okay, here we go. They're going to pass on Laquan to the corner, which they did. And then the really surprising part, because I was afraid they would draft London, and he gets taken by the Falcons at 8, and you knew at that point that Jesse drafted Wilson 10. That was there's no chance that wasn't going to happen.
No. And I didn't want London because I looked at his highlights, and you need a speed guy and someone that could really break the coverage. And London was just someone that just got the contested grabs, which are great. But Wilson can do it all. He can get the contested catches. He can break through on the line. He could burn any corner. That was the perfect wide receiver choice in my mind. And I'm just glad that Douglas didn't take the risk for Jamison Williams because he's coming off the ACL injury. That bothered me. So I was glad that they didn't head in that direction. But I think we can both agree that we're glad that we didn't get Kayvon Thibodeau.
Oh, thank goodness. You know how I felt about him. I didn't want any part of him. And just the fact that they were able to grab Jermaine Johnson at the end of the first round.
Trading back up, yeah.
That was a great job by Douglas and personnel, the people. And there's no excuses anymore. I know they have to bond as a team. They have to grow together. But you see, going back to free agency, you got your Whitehead, you got DJ Reed, okay, you got the 2 tight ends. There's a lot of veterans in there now too, so they could bring these rookies along a lot faster than if they were just like last year. There was so many rookies. There was no veterans really showed them the ropes. This year, I think there's a lot more veteran leadership. And I think these rookies will contribute earlier than they would have because of the veteran leadership that they have now.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure that you saw that there was some undrafted talent in there. One I wanted to bring up was Zonovan Knight. I'm not sure. Did you get to read the papers and hear about him?
I did. I read about that, yes.
Running back.
Well, I guess Ty Johnson and Michael Pirine probably, barring injuries, probably be gone at the end of camp, you would think, because I think this kid Knight is going to, if he's what you read about and watch some highlights of him, well, you know what? Good chance this guy could be the 4th running back.
Oh, he could. It's always hilarious because when you think about it, the Jets always have their running backs. Every other position is always questionable, but the running back is always solidified for this team. And you can go back even to the early days, with Snell.
That's right. Oh, you got Boozer and Snell.
Yeah.
But, it's funny. I was talking about a friend over the weekend. When was the last time, if ever, okay, you could say defensive coordinators, they wake up Sunday morning, okay, we're playing the Jets, just play a vanilla defense, no problem. Now, they got to kind of pick their poison because the tight ends take the middle of the field. You got the speed on the outside. You got the backs who could run and could catch passes. So you can't cover everybody.
No.
So if Wilson is smart enough to find the open guy, I think this would be has the potential to be a very potent offense.
Oh, and it'll be great to see because usually we've always leaned on our defense for the past 10 or so years. Looking back even at the Rex Ryan years, that the defense was always the number one thing that we laid back on. But now it looks like as though we could be an offensive juggernaut. We keep building to this team. And if Zach Wilson really steps up in year two, I think we have the chance to be a offensive juggernaut for sure.
Yeah, I really do. I think the Jets are finally entered the way the NFL is run now. You look at the Bills, look at the Chiefs, the Rams, all the top teams. They just march up and down the field, spreading the ball all over the place, and it looked like the Jets just finally had the talent to do that. And let's just hope on the other side of the ball that Salah finally got some pieces in place where he could get to the quarterback, they could cover people, and they'll have a very good defense too.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, and I think it all comes together with saying this. Remember when Salah said that? Oh well, this year, let's not get our hopes up, but the third year, that's going to be the year. I think that's when it's really going to click. I hope we see a lot of progress this year. I think we're going to, but I think Salah's going to be right here. Where that third year, that's when you're really going to see the big leap.
Yeah, I would agree with him. But with that said, five wins are not going to cut it this year.
No.
I mean, the expectations have gone up now after what happened this weekend in free agency. Like I said, do I expect an AFC title or division title? Of course not.
No.
But there's no reason why the middle of December, we could be hanging on to a thread and
for
say,
a wild card spot.
Yeah, maybe we win this and two teams lose. Maybe we got a shot at getting into play. There's no reason why we shouldn't be playing competitive football games in the middle of December.
No. Usually our season's over before Halloween. I mean,
I know.
Hopefully we can go further in here when the weather changes and it gets colder.
I know. I hope so. And I don't know how you felt, but just so much attention was put into this draft. Of course, because we had so many early picks, but because we've been so bad in the last 10 years, except for 2015. It's just been such a bad decade of football, and we start concentrating on the draft come Halloween.
Yeah,
and you know what? I don't like I said. I don't know how you feel. I'm just tired of it. And by the time the draft came around last week, it was like, okay, I'm excited about it, but I got to get this. We've been talking about this draft for 6 to 8 months. I got to get. I can't take it anymore.
No, as soon as last week came about, I just wanted it to be over with, especially in the last 3 days because you're going online, you're reading the papers. It really became a crapshoot if you think about it in the last week there because the drafts were all over the place. The Jets were going to draft the Kayvon Thibodeau. They were going defensive line. They were going to go corner. They were going to go receiver. There was no dead-on mock drafts that you saw that week, so it was driving you nuts, and you just wanted to see how it played out, and it played out the best way possible, in my opinion, I'm sure, as well as yours.
Oh, absolutely. And also what I think what happened about the anticipation of the draft in today's world, social media, and Twitter, and you have 250 people analysis talking about these things with mock drafts and everything. It's just a complete overload.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember probably way before you were born. You'd hear about, okay, these are the top 10 people in the draft, and they would go to Radio City, or they would go to the Sheraton Hotel, or Marquee, or wherever it was, and they announced the names, and here are the picks. You didn't have for months and months leading up to it. Mel Kiper has 25 different mock drafts.
And I'm just glad that it's over, and the thing that was really heating up in the rumors was the Deebo Samuel trade rumors for the number 10th pick overall. And it would have been great to have Deebo Samuel, but I wouldn't have given a massive haul for him because we wouldn't have gotten what we got in the draft.
No, we wouldn't have, and they played their cards right. And I was going both ways. Like one day I wanted them, one day I didn't want them. And as we got closer to Thursday, I said, you know what? I can't give this guy $100 million contract and give up 2-3 draft picks, premium picks, to bring in this receiver. The team's not ready to win right now, and I think just everything fell into place the way it should have.
I think so too, and something with that. And when they're ready to win, I think when you see the progress, and I think going into year 3 with seeing the progress, I think that's when Douglas is going to make his splash in free agency and bring in quality veterans. I think that's when he's going to really lock some people down. Once he sees the potential and that we're ready to start winning, I think that's when he's going to make the sign in the third year.
Yeah, like if they go 7-10, and everything looks promising, you're right. If there's two or three like key free agents, they'll spend the big money, plug it in, and then they'll be ready to go the following year.
Yeah. But I think so. I think it's going to be. I'm looking forward to camp. I'm looking forward to
Yes,
the trainings and the upcoming games. I think it's going to be. I'm more excited now with how the draft panned out, just how many holes that they plugged. Because even Jermaine Johnson, we bring him up. I mean, they were having him being predicted to go in the top 10, and some mock drafts you were reading, he could have been going to us with the fourth pick overall.
well, how about the kid? What's his name? Desmond. Actually, the fourth round pass rusher that we got from Texas A&M.
Oh yeah, that's
Um,
right.
yeah, I mean, if even with him, I mean, I know there's a little bit of a character flaw with him. That's
Michael
an issue.
Clemens.
Michael Clemens. I mean, yeah, you take him. He may be as good as Jermaine Johnson if he could stay out of trouble and kind of clean up his act.
Yeah.
Man, oh man, if they hit on that too, it'll be, all of a sudden, you know what it is? It's been such a bad 10 years of Jet football.
Oh
It's like it's like I'm excited. I'm really excited. I mean, like I told my wife, I don't remember the last time that we pulled a car out of the garage, head over to the stadium, and was excited about a game. We were just going to go out for the day because you knew you weren't going to win.
no.
Sometimes you didn't even know who was playing. It's just finally they're back on track, and it's really good to see. And excited about the schedule. The schedule comes out May 12th.
Yeah, I
So
hope
see
we don't
how that
open up
plays
the
out.
season in Buffalo. I really don't. I mean, I hope they give
No,
us a break this year, please. Every year we
I
have to
know.
open up in Buffalo.
I know. Give us like the Bears or Lions at home this year. Something like that. Jacksonville at home. Let's get off to some type of decent start. And you look at the schedule now after you're hoping that the potential what we have. Well, all of a sudden now, a split with New England and a split with Miami is not really out of the question. It's almost to be expected.
Yeah, it is, and it's now everything falls on Zach Wilson here, and we really need to give him a chance because you know how the papers are going to be once if he starts having some hiccups here. They really need to give him time because he look at Darnold. He was given a few years here. He was given 3 years. We really should have gave Sanchez a little bit more time. We've talked about that before, and that he was our guy, and then with Tannenbaum being out, and now that all played out. But Zach Wilson really needs a lot of time here. I think this year and next year, he needs to be given a right amount of time because I think he's our quarterback.
Of course, and it's funny you bring that up because I got a phone call on my way home from work today, and they were saying, "Oh, did you hear this?" I don't know. What are you talking about? So one of the radio hosts today on FAN brings up the fact that well, if Wilson is struggling early because this team has so much talent, you put in a guy like Flacco because he could definitely win games with these players. So already the media is spinning it where they're maybe making a quarterback controversy where there isn't. And, this isn't about, okay, they start off 0-2 when Zach struggles. Well, okay, we got to win 10 games. You put Flacco in. That, winning 10 games with Flacco next year, I would rather win 6 to 7 games and let Wilson go through his struggles and get better as the year go on than win 10 games with Flacco. Because what's that got to prove?
Yeah, it's like another Fitzpatrick year all over again. And you can't always rely on the veteran here. I mean, we're going to want to see wins. The only way I'm going to want to see that is if God forbid Zach Wilson went down with an injury. I don't want to pull him. He really needs to get through his struggles, as we said before.
You're right. There's no chance I'm taking him off the field. Unless, like, after a half a dozen games, he's completely overwhelmed. But that's not going to be the case. I think he went through that last year. Listen, he's not going to be perfect, but I think his performance will be a lot better than it was last year.
I think it will too. I wanted to get your take on some of Woody Johnson's takes, so because I remember he was supposed to be very involved in the draft process, and when I heard about that, I got a little scared there.
Nervous.
Yeah, because I mean, we always the Jet fans always think that the Johnsons don't know a lot about football, and when I heard that, I got a little cringed out there. But did you hear his statements in the paper about him thinking that there should be a women's and girls flag football league opening up? Did you hear about that?
I heard. What's the funny? Listen, he means well. I get it, but the Jets haven't won football games in years, and just focus on the Jets.
Yeah,
Don't
that's
worry
what I
about
want.
don't put in a bid for a soccer team in Europe. I listen. It's great you want to start a girls' league. That's great, but just focus on the New York Jets and how about getting off to a 3-2 start? The first 5 weeks of the year. Don't worry about flag football for either boys or girls.
I agree. I said the same thing. I said, can he focus on his own football team just for once, please? I want to start winning because I remember when they were going to the back-to-back AFC Championship games, and you thought this was an owner who really was all about winning and was focused on the Jets. Because I remember, if you looked at the playbacks, Woody Johnson was up in the skybox partying like Jerry Jones when they were going to the back-to-back AFC Championships.
Oh, which he should have. And it's funny because when he bought the team, that first decade, that first 10 years, he had a really nice run.
He did.
I mean, 2000, they lost that last game in Baltimore, which should have never happened. But then after that, 01, 04, 06, they make the playoffs. Then they, a couple of, Pennington gets hurt. They would have if he didn't. And then 08, Favre's arm gives out after they were 8-3, so they were all on their way there. And then, of course, 09 and 010. So his first 10 years as owner, you thought, okay, everything's in place. And then all of a sudden, that Victor Cruz game came into factor, and then everything's gone south ever since.
Yeah. That Victor Cruz game, that's a painful one for Jet fans. But if you think about it too, I mean, we're always looking forward to the draft, but the draft has been a lot of the Jets' problems because the prospects that they select, the scouts, they really don't do their homework on them because they never pan out these players. I mean, you think about Quentin Coples and Darren Lee. Darren Lee was someone I was thinking about. Then you have Jamal Adams, who fought his way out of here. Leonard Williams, all these first-round draft, Muhammad Wilkerson and Vernon Golston. You really go back here and you look at these players and you're like, the reason why the Jets haven't built a foundation and they're still stuck here is because the players that they pick in these rounds, they don't even turn out. They're out of the league in like 3 years.
No, it was like from I don't know, I'm just going to throw out a number, say 012 going up until Douglas took over. And even Douglas's first year,
horrible.
Very much, it was not good. So you had, 7, 8 years of really bad drafting, and that's why you got it. And that's why I'm very enthusiastic and optimistic about this, because when you have a solid draft, years ago before free agency, you'd be set for 10 years. So I said, let me do my homework. But you forget, and this is way before you were born. But I remember in the mid-'70s, they had 3 solid drafts in a row, 77, 78, 79. And that team was set up. And like there was no free agency. They hung around. And they were good. They got good. And they were in the mix till 86, 87, 88. I'll give you an example. In 79, with their first 2 picks, they got Marty Lyons and Mark Gastineau.
That's right.
In 78, they had Chris Ward, Mickey Schuler, Bobby Jackson, Derek Gaffney. In 77, they had Marvin Powell, Wesley Walker, Scott Durkin, Joe Klecko, Dan Alexander. I mean, that's the type of draft we just had. So because the NFL is a different game and because of free agency, so to get to 10 years, but if this hits, there's a good chance we're set up for the next 5 years.
Yeah. Oh, I agree, and I really want these past 2 drafts to turn out the way it was in the 90s with the Cowboys when they got the trade there with the Vikings for Herschel Walker, because I really want to see that foundation built for the Jets right away and building through the draft and hitting on these players, and hopefully these players can turn into Pro Bowlers.
That's right. That's right. Wouldn't it be nice if some of these guys turned out to be Pro Bowlers? Man.
It would be nice.
A long time.
Oh, I look back at these players that Calvin Pryor and you remember the tight end Jason Morrow. That's right, or Chad Hansen and Sharon Peak.
Stephen Hill, Devin Smith. I mean, it just goes on. It's just, terrible years of drafting.
I thought about Devin Smith when we drafted Garrett Wilson. I said, I hope this isn't another Devin Smith because he was also a Buckeye. But I think it's going to be a different case this time around.
Different.
Yeah.
And what's funny in defense of some of the scouts and personnel, sometimes, listen, when you get drafted by the NFL, you're a world-class athlete. Let's be honest, okay? So two things have to happen. Number one, you have to get picked by the right team to fit the right scheme. So that's number one. Number two, you got to have the right coaches in place. And then number three, you can never measure a guy's heart.
No.
So, you can watch tape and the guy looks great and, he's making all these plays or this is the guy. But so many other things have to click before you hit on a player. So sometimes it's really, you could blame the scouts and blame the personnel department, and rightfully so. But a lot of times it's on the player themselves too.
Yeah, you're right. And I think Salah's going to have to make the big leap this year. And something that I do admire just watching the press conferences with him and Douglas is how you mentioned a key word there is fit in the scheme and fit in the system. They all addressed how these players that they drafted fit the scheme. So I think they hit on these players. I really do. It's just time for them to show it now.
Yep. And then, just backtracking to what we were just talking about sometimes it's on the players. Becton is a perfect example.
Yep.
Now, I've been really rough on him, the last couple of months on the radio. But to be honest, the ability is there.
Mm-hmm.
There's no question this kid can't play.
Yeah.
That's not the issue.
No.
It's everything else that leads up to playing.
Exactly.
And, if he gets that right, well, then we're not having this conversation about drafting an offensive line or, not that worried about it.
No.
And let's just hope when he does come up back to New Jersey, that he comes back in some type of decent shape and then he's healthy. That's what you got to keep your fingers crossed.
Yeah. And if it turns out to be that way, I can guarantee you the offensive line will probably be one of the best next year. It will be in the NFL. It's going to be one of the best lines in the NFL. And if you really look at it now, especially if Becton really pans out, all you're really going to need, because I know the fans aren't really huge fans of McGovern. I mean, we can live with them for this year. You're really going to need that center. We're going to be looking for another Nick Mangold, so I'm sure that we'll be addressing that in next year's draft. And I'm upset that they didn't go get Linderbaum, but maybe there's going to be another Linderbaum in next year's draft.
Well, what would have been really interesting if the Ravens, I think the Ravens took a Linderbaum, right?
That's right, yeah.
The pick before we traded up for Jermaine Johnson,
That's right, yeah.
Now, they love Jermaine Johnson, but I wonder what would have happened if Linderbaum also was available. I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall to hear that come.
Yeah. But because if you look at it, the Jets need pass rusher, but at the same time, you need to protect your quarterback. You know what? I think I'm going center in that situation if they're both available, because you need that anchor to your line.
Well, it would have definitely put the finishing touches on the offense. That's for sure. But I don't have, I'm completely happy with Jermaine Johnson.
I am too.
And as a Jets fan now, so you got some OTAs coming up, then you got the mandatory minicamp. I think unless Becton surprises us and shows up at the end of May, which who knows? I mean, your guess is as good as mine. But if he doesn't show up for mandatory minicamp, now we have a situation on our hands.
Yeah, and I think he will, but if he doesn't, like you said, it's going to be a serious situation, and then you might see a trade, and you don't know what's going to happen from then. You're really not going to.
Yeah, all bets are off at that point,
Yeah.
But let's give him the benefit of the doubt. Let's, hopefully that he comes up here, he's healthy, and he's in some type of shape, and then away we go. And you know what? Before you know it, training camp will be here, preseason. We'll be looking forward to the season, and just it goes fast. It's incredible.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a great year. And are you going to be getting any of these jerseys? Are you thinking about getting an Ahmad Gardner jersey already?
When I was younger, I wasn't really like a big jersey guy. I mean, I have my name jersey, Quebec, Curtis, Penny. I mean, it's, some classic old ones.
The main superstars.
Right. But, I stopped wearing the jerseys. I had some trouble at some road games. And then I said, you know what? I'm getting to a point where, it's cool to wear the jersey, but you know what? I'm not a player. And it just, to invest in jerseys, well, hopefully that won't be the case with some of these picks now, but you buy these jerseys for $200 a pop now, and 3 years later, they're disgruntled and you have to trade them when you cut them because they're no good. Like my friend Joe Beningo, I think he must have like 50 jerseys in his closet.
Oh yeah, I had a bunch of them. Well, some of them didn't fit me anymore, but I had a Decker, I had a Marshall, I had a Wilkerson. I'm actually right now
Oh
as I'm
my
talking to
goodness.
you, I'm wearing my Le'Veon Bell jersey.
Oh no.
So
That's a classic.
that didn't pan out, and I wasted a income on that. But I did buy a Zach Wilson jersey because I was high on this guy. I didn't buy a Darnold because I wasn't high on him coming out of college, but I thought Bell was going to pan out for us, and he didn't. So that was a waste. But I can get, especially for Jet fans, why Jet fans may not want to be out there really ready to spend money on a jersey, because you never know with these players. You never know if they're going to be disgruntled like Marshall. He decides he wants to go to the Giants, or if a player just doesn't turn out.
No, there's no way to tell. It's funny you bring up Bell. I always wonder if he had not sat out that year,
The
because
Steelers
it
year, the
was clear.
contract.
Yeah, I mean, it was very clear he had lost a step, but you just wonder that if he had not missed a year, maybe he would have had a couple of more years at a very productive level. If sitting out that year really set him back.
I think it did. And my approach when we were signing him originally, I thought he was going to have fresh legs, because I said, hey, he's got a year of rest. This means he's got more time. He's got more energy. But I think it set him back in the end. It really did.
So do I, and I think that put the finishing touches on his career. But it's funny. I heard one of the commentators say that this kid, Brees Hall, he has a little bit of Le'Veon Bell in his vision of picking holes. And when I heard that, I said, okay, that's a really good thing to see. And I saw he wore number 28 in college, so that's Curtis's
It
old
is.
number. So man, oh man, this guy lives up to. I watched some tape on this kid, and it's it's been a long time since we had. And Michael Carter's terrific, but this kid's explosive and big and strong, and it's been a long time since we had somebody like him.
It has been, and you know what? I think this could be a generational player if he really pans out, because they were also comparing him to LaShawn McCoy, and I'm trying to think of the last great Jets running back, and I think it was Chris Ivory, if you think about it.
You mean like somebody that's make a difference? You mean?
Yeah,
Yeah, I think because Ivory had a couple of good years for the Jets. And, to this day, I mean, I would love to get the answer why he wasn't used more. I know he was hurt, but he ripped off a 40 or 50-yard run up in Buffalo, that game we needed. And then after that, they never used him again. I just don't understand it. It
no,
makes no sense to me.
no, it doesn't
But
make any sense. No.
it's now. So let me ask you a question.
Mhm.
Out of all these picks, which one of these picks do you think will have the biggest impact on this team this year? I have a player in mind. I'm curious if we're on the same page.
Ooh, that's a good one there. For some reason, I feel like Garrett Wilson. I feel like Garrett Wilson.
Interesting.
I think he's going to have the biggest impact because of his speed, and then now you have a power tandem because Elijah Moore is another speed guy. So now you're really opening up the offense to be dynamic here in the speed lane. So I feel as though, because there's going to be so many options now, the corners are going to have to either double. They're probably going to double team Corey Davis. So now you're going to have to look at it as, now that leaves it open for either way. You got tight ends. You never know. The offense is so dynamic now with adding Garrett Wilson to this offense.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I'm gonna go with Hall because I've been talking him up on your show, and the only reason I say that, I just think it's easier for a running back to come in and hit his stride right away in the NFL, um, than a receiver on offense. As a receiver, got to learn to read defenses and kind of build a chemistry with a quarterback who's still learning. So I think Hall could actually have a. Not that Wilson will have a bad year. Don't get me wrong. I think he's going to be an impactful player, but I think Hall will give us more production this year simply because running back is easier to right out of college into the NFL.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. It takes more pressure off the quarterback, and I think you're right. You may be right about that, but That they have so many playmakers now, and I think Zach's in good hands. We're going to see a giant leap here, and the media has to get off his case too. I don't know if you saw that there was criticism because I don't know if you saw this video online of him golfing, and did you hear about this?
No, I don't know anything about this.
Yeah, there were people going online because he was apparently cursing on the golf course with his friends, but it wasn't anything like insane that people should really go too nuts about. But there were people online like saying, "Oh, Zach Wilson said this," and it really wasn't that big of a deal. But the media is always on his case. It's insane how the media is always on Zach Wilson's case, though.
Well, I think the pressure. I think he's going to get scrutinized even more this year. And it's going to start early. It's going to start right in camp.
Yeah, it very well be.
Once again, I'm friends with a lot of media people in New York, so I'm not looking to hurt anybody's feelings
No.
here. but they're rough.
They
rough.
are.
As soon as he goes out there, the first interception he throws in training camp, oh, forget it. It's going to be headlines in the papers.
Then it's going to be like, oh, maybe Jets should have got Kenny Pickett or Malik Willis. And then next year it'll be like, oh, looks like the Jets will be looking for a new quarterback. And they got to stop with that. They have to, let them develop.
Yeah, like the last thing I want to hear this summer is Zach's having a little bit of an inconsistent summer, say. Let's hope that's not the case. Well, Mike White got to be given a shot here. I really don't want to be that, from the beat writers this summer.
No. And the whole Mike White thing, he's back here. And, Zach Wilson's our quarterback, and people just have to realize that. And, I think going forward here, there's only great things ahead for this team. I mean, I don't think we can go down. I think we're only going up from here.
I would agree. I think really the arrow is pointing up. So the two most important things is to stay healthy and that these kids stay out of trouble and everybody gets into camp on time and Becton comes in healthy. And I think it's going to be a very entertaining and fun season.
It will be, and it's going to be packed in MetLife. It's really going to be packed for the opening game.
Believe.
Yeah,
I know it's like I'm so used to going there, and it's like section after section with nobody sitting there. I don't think that's going to be the case this year. I think they're going to, they're going to get people in the building.
Yeah, finally, there's going to be something expected to watch. And the great thing that we could take away as a positive for this team as well is that it's the youngest team in the NFL.
Yes, and then that's a good thing. And they're all going to be on their rookie deals, on their first year, 1 year into their rookie deals, so it's all really good. And, maybe it's finally turning around for us. Maybe this is going to be it.
Yeah, I think so. I think this is going to be our year here coming up to really develop as a youthful team. And in that third year, like Salah said, it's going to be the big leap. It's going to be time to really go deep into the playoffs here.
I agree. So with the schedule coming out, I just hope, because I want to get to Green Bay this year. I'm hoping that Green Bay game is before, let's say, before Halloween, before the real cold weather sets in over there.
I agree. Yeah, hopefully it is, and I'm sure you're going to be going out to some games this year, because I remember last year you weren't real adamant about going, and just because everything. I think there were some weather issues when you're going down to Tampa, and then everything with the pandemic going on. I know there were some games there that you weren't too adamant about going to last year. So I think one I had to cancel. Actually, one I got canceled, Buffalo game, and then Indianapolis I had to cancel for another reason. But I got the 4 road games, and I'm hoping to do about the same this year. I want to get to Green Bay, New England, Buffalo, Miami. So it's 4 right there, and then I'll just see how the schedule goes. But I can't book it early the way I used to anymore, because they change these games now. Like, I think, was it after week 4? Nothing's guaranteed or something like that. Wow.
So, yeah, either 4 or week 8. I figure I have to double check what it is. But, if all of a sudden the Jets have like a slew of 1 o'clock games, and all of a sudden, let's say the Jets are having a great year, now they start putting them on a later game. You're hoping to get home Sunday night. You make plans, and then they change it, and you got to switch your flight. And because of what's happened with the pandemic, traveling is not what it used to be.
No.
You know what's going on with the airlines. There's limited flights. There's all type of cancels, and so I'm going to have to pick and choose, be smart about it. But I hope to get to my share.
Yeah, and I'm sure you will, and it's going to be an exciting season, and hopefully that they're in every game, because I think that's just something that we're going to look forward to seeing. If they're in every game, then that's progress.
That's the big time progress. And you know what? Maybe the ones that have most of the team has returned, at least the rookies. Last year, maybe now they'll learn from losing a couple of close games last year that they should have won, like the Tampa game.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they'll take those lessons, and those closer games they'll win this year.
Yeah, that Tampa game should have been ours. It was a great game because you saw the development, but that game really should have been ours if you looked at it. And I think that was Zach Wilson's best game next to his Tennessee game last year.
Yes. Yep. I definitely say that was his best game of the year. He's made some big time throws there, especially to Kenny Yeboah, the tight end.
Yeah.
And boy, I was talking about him being the third tight end. Well, so much for that.
Yeah,
they just got roughed. That's not happening.
No, apparently not. But the tight end room is filled here for the first time in a while, because I know we've been crying about it for years, and rightfully so, because we haven't had a real tight end since, you could say, Dustin Keller. But here we are. Now we have 3 tight ends with Conklin, Uzoma, and Jeremy Ruckert.
I know. I want to pinch myself. It's hard to believe, but I'm going on a record of saying that the tight ends will combine for at least 80 catches.
Yeah. You got to use them, because we haven't used them in years. This has been a not so utilized position for the Jets, but now's the time to use it. And this is Zach Wilson's security blanket. The tight ends are always a security blanket for the quarterback, the big time target.
That's right. It'll make his life a lot more simpler. That's for sure.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it. Ira, is there anything else that you want to cover here that we didn't address? I think we addressed everything pretty much.
Yeah, I think we covered pretty much most of it. Just, hopefully talk to you, right after minicamp, before minicamp, yeah. And then we'll get ready and have hopefully a training camp show.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, 100%. We'll definitely set that up and get that scheduled again. And, great draft. I'm looking forward to the mini camps and OTAs and even summer camp and the preseason games. Big things are coming here, and, go Jets.
There you go. Go Jets, and I appreciate you having me.
Of course. Anytime, Ira, you're always welcome on the show, and take care and stay safe and enjoy the rest of your night. All right?
You too, man. Thanks.
Yes, no problem, Ira. Take care.